Welcome to the battlefield of brains, where strategy meets chaos and every move burns with intensity. Watch grandmasters clash, pieces fall, and legends rise. Wesley So opens with 1. e4. The king pawn drives forward boldly, claiming central ground and immediately challenging Magnus Carlsen's defensive intentions. Magnus Carlsen replies with 1. Yes. King X, calmly constructing the Caro-Can structure, signaling patience, resilience, and long-term counterattacking plans. Wesley So plays 2. bc4, developing aggressively and aiming straight at f7, forcing Magnus Carlsen to respect early tactical threats. Magnus Carlsen answers with 2. Ilalim. d5, striking the center instantly and challenging Wesley So's bishop placement without hesitation. Wesley So retreats using 3. bd3, preserving the bishop while maintaining diagonal pressure and avoiding unnecessary early exchanges. Magnus Carlsen supports the center with 3. e6, reinforcing the pawn chain and preparing smooth, harmonious piece development. Wesley So develops 4. nc3, bringing the knight into play and strengthening central control with flexible intentions. Magnus Carlsen plays 4. Now. nf6, attacking the fr pawn directly and accelerating development with clear purpose. Wesley So chooses 5 the d3, opting for solidity and structure, keeping options open rather than forcing early central clashes. Magnus Carlsen captures with 5 the d4, testing Wesley So's setup and demanding an immediate concrete response. Wesley So responds with 6. iyong, the knight recaptures confidently, restoring balance and occupying a strong central square. Magnus Carlsen exchanges using 6. iyong, simplifying early and removing Wesley So's active knight from the center. Wesley So recaptures with 7. Decisive, opening lines and accepting a clean, symmetrical pawn structure. Magnus Carlsen plays 7 tie. iyong. Qx1, forcing a queen trade with check and pulling Wesley So's king into early action. Wesley So answers with 8. Kx, calmly centralizing the king and signaling full confidence in an endgame-oriented battle. Magnus Carlsen develops 8 and Decisive, rerouting the knight to support central squares and flexible queenside play. Wesley So plays 9. Gami, reinforcing the center and preparing a stable pawn chain for long-term maneuvering. Magnus Carlsen jumps with 9. Ale? NC5, eyeing B3 and central squares, applying subtle queenside pressure. Wesley So retreats 10. BC2, keeping the bishop safe while preserving influence along important diagonals. Magnus Carlsen advances 10. Name the enemy. Iyong. A5, gaining queenside space and fixing potential targets for later play. Wesley So develops 11. NF3, connecting pieces smoothly and improving coordination around the centralized king. Magnus Carlsen plays 11. A6, strengthening dark squares and preparing flexible bishop development. Wesley So places 12. B3, contesting central diagonals and directly challenging Magnus Carlsen's piece coordination. Magnus Carlsen responds with 12. Oh my god, very normal. A6, activating the bishop aggressively and aiming toward Wesley So's exposed king. Wesley So jumps forward using 13 auto. N5, planting the knight centrally and igniting immediate tactical tension. Magnus Carlsen counters with 13. R8, reinforcing the c-file and preparing queenside counterplay. Wesley So pushes 14. B4, expanding forcefully, attacking the knight and grabbing valuable queenside space. Magnus Carlsen retreats with 14. And Decisive, preserving the knight and maintaining positional flexibility. Wesley So strikes with 15. Decisive, exchanging decisively and removing a key defender from Magnus Carlsen's position. Magnus Carlsen recaptures 15. Undermined. Decisive, centralizing the king and accepting exposure for structural stability. Wesley So plays 16. Moving the A-file and creating immediate imbalance on the queenside. Magnus Carlsen responds with 16. On the hand. F5, restoring material balance and opening lines for rook activity. Wesley So activates the king using 17. Cone, marching toward queenside safety and endgame readiness. Magnus Carlsen delivers 17. No.1. What I mean ball. A3. A sharp check that forces Wesley So's king to continue moving. Wesley So answers with 18. KD2, stepping forward calmly and showing confidence in active king play. Magnus Carlsen plays 18. RJ, placing the rook centrally and increasing pressure along the open file. Wesley So retreats the bishop using 19.ly. BB6, blocking lines, attacking the rook, and gaining valuable tempo. Magnus Carlsen responds with 19. Tension. Re8, stabilizing the center and reinforcing piece coordination. Wesley So plays 20. Ardone, meeting central pressure directly and contesting the critical d-file. Magnus Carlsen shifts with 20. Right, activating the rook and aiming for queenside counterplay. Wesley So answers using 21. Rabone, matching rooks and refusing to concede queenside control. Magnus Carlsen repositions with 21. BC4, centralizing the bishop and tightening pressure on white structure. Wesley So captures boldly with 22. BC5, winning material and damaging Magnus Carlsen's queenside pawns. Magnus Carlsen responds 22. RX bone, exchanging rooks to simplify into a tense endgame. Wesley So recaptures with 23. RX bone, maintaining material advantage and active piece placement. Magnus Carlsen plays 23. Right, activating the rook aggressively and searching for counterplay. Wesley So plays 24. RB7, the rook storms onto the 7th rank, checking sharply and forcing Magnus Carlsen's king into defense. Magnus Carlsen responds with 24. Shate, stepping aside cautiously while protecting vital squares under growing pressure. Wesley So continues with 25. R7 delivering another precise check and keeping Magnus Carlsen's king constantly under fire. Magnus Carlsen retreats using 25. Fate, edging away from danger but clearly running out of safe territory. Wesley So captures with 26. RxC6, winning a pawn cleanly and increasing material pressure in the unfolding endgame. Magnus Carlsen strikes back with 26. Use. Arc Sapphire, grabbing material on the queen side and fighting stubbornly for counterplay. Wesley So plays 27. RxE4, the rook scoops up another pawn, steadily draining Magnus Carlsen's remaining resources. Magnus Carlsen defends with 27. BD6, centralizing the bishop to block lines and stabilize a difficult position. Wesley So repositions using 28. Rougher, activating the rook and maintaining firm control over key files. Magnus Carlsen exchanges with 28. RxA4, forcing simplification and reducing white's active attacking pieces. Wesley So recaptures with 29. BxA4, keeping material advantage while placing the bishop actively on a strong square. Magnus Carlsen counters using 29. I'm not made. BX snatching a pawn and attempting to create imbalance on the king side. Wesley So responds with 30. Reinforcing the kingside structure and calmly neutralizing potential attacking ideas. Magnus Carlsen pushes 30. I'm not in. A5, advancing aggressively and probing for weaknesses near Wesley So's king. Wesley So retreats with 31. B8, repositioning the bishop defensively while eyeing kingside dark squares. Magnus Carlsen advances 31. H4, pressing forward stubbornly in an effort to open lines by force. Wesley So captures using 32. Or eliminating the pawn and shutting down immediate kingside threats. Magnus Carlsen plays 32. F6, reinforcing central squares and preparing a last-ditch counterstrike. Wesley So answers with 33. Bf7, dominating critical diagonals and restricting Magnus Carlsen's piece activity. Magnus Carlsen pushes 33. F5, breaking the center urgently and searching for active counterplay. Wesley So centralizes with 34. G3. The king steps forward confidently, asserting clear endgame superiority. Magnus Carlsen responds with 34. KB7, moving the king closer to queenside pawns for defense. Wesley So continues using 35. K2, improving king coordination and tightening overall positional control. Magnus Carlsen activates with 35. A1. A4, placing the bishop aggressively to create tactical complications. Wesley So advances with 36. Kf3, the king steps closer, supporting pawns and limiting black's options. Magnus Carlsen plays 36. KB6, improving king placement, but facing rapidly shrinking space. Wesley So boldly moves 37. KG4, invading enemy territory and displaying complete confidence in the endgame. Magnus Carlsen repositions with 37. No.1 Endgame. Ilalim. BD2, retreating the bishop and clinging to defensive chances. Wesley So tightens the grip using 38. K5, threatening pawn breaks and uncomfortable zugzwang scenarios. Magnus Carlsen answers with 38. Now. KC5, shifting the king in search of any remaining counterplay. Wesley So advances with 39. KG6, the king penetrates deeply, supporting decisive pawn advances. Magnus Carlsen defends using 39. A6, forcing the bishop into a passive and restricted role. Wesley So pushes 40. A5, advancing the pawn and sealing long-term kingside dominance. Magnus Carlsen moves 40. KB5, the king runs desperately as escape routes disappear. Wesley So plays 41. BB3, cutting off critical squares and tightening the positional net. Magnus Carlsen responds with 41. Iyong. K5, drifting helplessly under mounting pressure. Wesley So fixes the structure using 42. A4, restricting the king and freezing queenside pawns. Magnus Carlsen retreats with 42 by. Down. KB6, trapped inside an increasingly narrow box. Wesley So advances, 43. C4, a powerful pawn thrust that cuts off remaining escape paths. Magnus Carlsen answers with 43. Say 5, making a final attempt to stay active. Wesley So pushes 44. A5, creating a dangerous passed pawn that decisively shifts the endgame. Magnus Carlsen responds with 44. Dear. Then. It's stepping closer but unable to stop the plan. Wesley So checks using 45. That's forcing Magnus Carlsen's king backward under complete control. Magnus Carlsen plays 45. Tane. Decisive oscillating helplessly as viable options vanish. Wesley So finishes with 46. BB5, sealing the position completely and confirming victory on the board. I'll end the video here. Please give me a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll keep finding the best and newest videos to share with you. Thank you so much, and I wish you all happiness and good health. Ngandam